I've been thinking a lot about the Charlie Kirk situation, his assassination, and one of the things that really bothers me about this situation is that there's really a lot of obvious facts that are being ignored to push a narrative. And these facts are being ignored on all sides by certain people. And I really feel like the conspiracy theory segment of the media is ignoring obvious facts in the name of being able to sensationalize the story further and continue a certain narrative against what everybody these days are labeling Zionists. Here's the reality that I see that a lot of people choose not to notice. Charlie Kirk was the number one enemy. He was public enemy number one of the radical Marxist, communist, leftists who dominate college campuses, right? If you know anything about Marxists, if you know anything about communists, radical leftists, they've always been around. They've been around for centuries. They are not some advent of, the 2020s. They've been around just as long as any other cult or sect or political class or party. And they do engage in deletions. They do sponsor deletions. If Charlie Kirk is the number one enemy of the radical left Marxists, he literally does battle with them on the front lines on college campuses all around the United States of America. Why is it so incredibly outlandish to think that maybe they were the ones who, pushed the button when it came to deleting Charlie? What I'm seeing is people totally ignoring the Marxists, totally ignoring the leftists. And they're just like, oh, the Zionists did it. For the past couple of months, Charlie has been asking some questions about the United States relationship with Israel and what's happening in Gaza. That's cool. But you're telling me that someone who has hated you for years had nothing to do with you being deleted, but a group of people who you might have been questioning, just questioning. You haven't condemned them. You haven't come out publicly denouncing them. You just have some questions about the way they are carrying out something that they're doing. They've invited you out to Israel. They want to have a dialogue with you. They want to talk with you, right? They want to see how they can get, your messaging that goes against them, how they can, find some common ground and maybe get you to walk back or just stop, saying anything that questions them. But this other group, they 100% know that you are their enemy. They 100% know that you are 1,000% opposed to negotiating with them along the lines of agreeing with them or walking back your messaging. And they have hitters too. They have financiers too. They have an agenda too. And you are the number one impediment or obstacle standing in the way of them reaching their goal, right? Charlie Kirk was literally pulling people out of the radical left. Charlie Kirk was literally on college campuses all around America, pushing back against what has been the prevailing narrative and sentiment on college campuses for, the past 20 years, maybe even the past 30 years, right? But we don't want to even entertain the idea that they had something to do with his deletion. This is what I'm going to say based on the common sense and what I see. The Marxists deleted Charlie. Then they tried to point the finger at the Zionists, and they knew people would believe it because of Charlie's recent questioning of Israel and certain things that are happening in Gaza, etc. It was the perfect time to strike, if you ask me. It fell right into place for them, and they seized on the moment. Now, this is all said under the assumption that the shooter did not operate independently. But like I've been telling people for a long time, I believe they have these Manchurian candidate cells who can be activated at any time. And when they press the button or they give that person the word, those people will go out and carry in all types of crazy, heinous acts against whoever their handlers choose to direct them towards. This is what I believe is going on. And I believe people who are already in a state of psychosis due to any number of mental health issues or delusions are highly susceptible. They're more susceptible to being, radicalized and utilized in this capacity. But to sit up and let the Marxists off the hook is crazy. To sit up and let the communists off the hook is crazy. That element exists in America. It's existed for centuries. And they have succeeded in doing what they've always done, radicalizing the youth of this generation against the values of their fathers, mothers, their family, and their forefathers. Everyone has a little bit of socialism in them because you feel sorry for people. People have empathy, right? But at the same time, as you get older, you learn that it's better than to feel sorry for someone. It's better to put yourself in a position where you can actually help them, right? That's just what it is. And so now what you have is people who are willing to actually do something about it, going at war with people who are simply talking about things, claiming to empathize with people, and really using that or weaponizing that in the name of reaching or achieving a political goal. That's what's going on here. And these people, because they believe that they're right or that they're righteous, because their cause is so much more worthy of empathy and sympathy, let's be real, they're more willing to go to an extreme in the name of their cause. I'm not defaulting to, it was the Zionist. That's lazy to me. That is a lazy way of thinking about this. I'm going to look at the number one enemy of Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to look at their history and the things they've done. And I'm going to go off of that. Because if you think Hitler and the Nazis deleted a lot of people, that pales in comparison to what the communist socialists did in Russia, China, and dozens of other countries, including right now Venezuela, where these ideas are actually being put into practice. I just encourage everyone to think, man. Everyone talks about think outside the box. Sometimes you have to think inside the box. Sometimes you have to look at the obvious evidence that's in front of you and get comfortable with the idea that that evidence might point towards the reality in the situation. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments. RIP to my boy Charlie. Shout out to everybody out there fighting a good fight. Until the next time, peace.